This is lesson 1.1, expressions and variables. During its summer feeding season, a blue whale eats about 4 tons of food every day. To find out about how many tons of food a blue whale eats in a given number of days, you can multiply the number of days by 4, as shown in the table. In the table, you can see for 1 day, we would do 4 times 1. 2 days, 4 times 2. 10 days, 4 times 10. If the amount of days are unknown, we use D as the variable and represent it as 4 times D. There are 2 types of expressions. A numerical expression consists of numbers and operations. As an example, 4 times 10 is a numerical expression. A variable is a letter used to represent one or more numbers. A variable expression consists of numbers and operations as well as a variable. To evaluate or solve a variable expression, substitute a number for each variable and evaluate or solve the resulting numerical expression. In example 1, we evaluate a variable expression. Evaluate the expression 4 times D when D equals 120 to find out about how many tons of food a blue whale eats in a feeding season of 120 days. First, we have our variable expression 4 times D. We substitute 120 in for D and multiply 4 times 120. That gives us our solution of 480. When you write a variable expression involving multiplication, avoid using the symbol x. It may be confused with the variable x. For this reason, we use a dot to represent multiplication, or we simply put the 2 factors next to each other. Example 2, evaluating expressions with 2 variables. Evaluate the expression when x equals 10 and y equals 4. Our variable expression x plus y, we substitute 10 for x and 4 for y. Then we add. 10 plus 4 equals 14. In this next expression, we have x times y. Again, we substitute x equals 10 and y is 4. Then we multiply. 10 times 4 gives us our solution of 40. Writing variable expressions. You can solve a real-world problem by creating a verbal model and using it to write a variable expression. A verbal model describes a problem using words as labels and using math symbols to relate the words. The table shows common words and phrases that indicate mathematical expressions. Take a look at this table. Are there any other words you can think of to represent addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? In example 3, we will be evaluating a variable expression. You plan to divide the 120 players in a baseball league into teams with the same number of players. Use a verbal model to write a variable expression for the number of teams if you know the number of players on each team. Let P represent the number of players on each team. The word divide obviously indicates division. So the number of teams equals the number of players in the league divided by the number of players on each team. Since we know the number of players in the league is 120, we divide that by P, which represents the number of players on each team. So the number of teams is 120 divided by P. This is the last example for this section. Hopefully you've taken good notes, can fill out the WISC form, and we'll be ready to discuss this in class tomorrow.